everyone. Welcome back. Uh, uh, Today we have none other than Nishith from Locus, and obviously, we've heard a lot about him, and he's been in the news for quite some time. And personally, also, I mean, I've seen him, pitch and speak on several occasions, and I find him really inspiring, really candid, really to the point, and one of those people who you can see through is a perfect CEO in terms of leading, not just leading the company end to end, and but also a typical sales. I mean, the ones who talk about Dhandhekibaat sort of a person. So I think but today we are here not to discuss about Dhandhekibaat typically. I mean, going at it directly, but moreover, we are talking about Nishith Rastogi as he is. So I mean, that's the intent of today's session, to have a very candid discussion with him as to how this. I mean, obviously, entrepreneurship doesn't just happen, and media jumps onto things as if it's like an overnight success, which obviously everyone knows and understands. It's never like that, but obviously there's a journey that goes behind building a concept from a scratch to implementing it, building it a brand where there are hundreds and thousands of first degree, second degree employees associated with the company, and so many customers, happy customers, and just revolutionizing the whole concept of logistics. I mean, so we all know of that. I'll quickly go back to Nishith, and just a quick introduction, a non-traditional way Nishith would be helpful, and then we'll deep dive to some other questions that I might pose to so that the audience can relate to a non-conformist Nishith that was,
Right.
and who started this journey.
I actually have quite literally a screwdriver on my table, right? And I think that's a lot of me. I love tinkering. I love building things. If you ever visit the Locus office, we are a software company, but you will notice that we have a hardware tinkering lab, and where it's a proper maker's workshop. You have 3D printers. You have a electromechanical workbench. And I love building stuff. That's how I got, I was very aggressively into robotics during my high school years. I used to go around the country participating in competitions, faking college IDs because colleges had better prize monies, right, to compete there. And I love overall the whole hardware software interface piece as well, right? I spent a time during my college years, like almost close to 3 years out of the 4 years on campus, working in a physics lab. And I physics was not my major subject, right? But in the physics lab, we built out an optic electronic, basically a photon tunneling microscope, right? So that's something me. I actually love building things, and that's how my sales approach is. That's where what people often call a very direct or a dhandeki approach, right? That I would love. I enjoy great relationship with my existing clients, but you should not be my client because of your relationship with me, right? When it comes to business, I should simply be able to talk to you that hey, I'm going to save you 20%. 5% of what I save you is mine. Rest is yours. This is our net value add. This is the total cost of ownership, right? Like, we are admittedly a reasonably expensive system, right? We are often a few 100% more expensive than our competitors, but we are an optimization system. We are not playing a zero sum game. So if you're creating additional value, you can split that loot rationally, and that's where it is, right? So I have a very engineering, mathematical approach to more, like often, for example, when we do customer sizing, right, and market rather industry sizing. So instead of just looking at how big the industry is, we also look at how easy the change management would be, and that is often a percentage of how important the logistics is. So even if I could save a lot of money for a jewelry company, I would probably not, because overall, to a 1 lakh necklace, the logistics cost was probably just 1,000 rupees, right? But in a 1 rupee toffee, the logistics cost is 20 paisa, right? So it's 20% of your costs itself. So that's how I like to look at things. That's how I am personally. I still do a lot of code on the side. I was an AWS ML developer prior to starting Ride Safe and Locals. We often mention that, how we have stumbled into logistics. We were building a women's safety app because that was a topic close to both Geet and I for personal reasons. My father is a post-trauma specialist, and yeah, so would love to, take a pause and check if that gives you alternate picture, or a slightly non-conformist picture of who I am and what I used to do before Locus.
No, that's fantastic. I think that's pretty interesting, and so maybe I mean, just also going back and hearing out loud as to what were your initial. I mean, maybe what were your initial job days when you started working, and when you were just so you always had that vision of going ahead and starting up and making some impact, or you just landed up. Because of a dream that you had. I mean, how did this all happen? I mean, how did Locus really happen?
Sure, sure.
Initial, the first
So,
seed that cropped in.
got it. So I think I was pretty reasonably excited about starting a deep tech venture, right? I was excited about it since school days. I had done a couple of small attempts at it, right? I was definitely not at all in any way in my horizon that I'll do a logistics tech venture. I was more about that. I would love to solve, a good technology problem. How it happened to be logistic was, as I mentioned, we were building a women's safety app, and that women's safety app called RideSafe had a very interesting route deviation feature. We used to call it real-time route deviation detection. It actually abbreviates to R2D2. That's why. Right? So what it would do is that it would take any source destination pair. Say you're going from your hotel to the airport, or from your airport to the hotel at night. It will automatically detect if the driver is trying to drive somewhere else, right? It's logically deviating. And that got picked up by the just at that same time booming on demand economy to manage their delivery guys, which was very surprising to us because we thought, GPS systems, fleet management systems, they already exist, tracking systems already exist, right? Why hack a B2C app? It turned out we were the ones who were missing the nuance. And what they were interestingly doing is that instead of tracking, they were tracking only the exceptions. And that gave us a very critical insight that what lies beyond supply chain visibility. Can we actually do supply chain decision making? Because if you look at it, what we are trying to do is solve a multivariable, multi-objective optimization problem. Right? Give me enough data and enough compute, and I already have the match to solve it, or would build it. And that was the idea behind Locus, that can we effectively build an algorithmic model which can automate all the human decisions required to transport a package or person between any 2 points on earth. And we are very excited about that even today, right? We have done that today in some small parts for companies just doing surface logistics. I think we have the whole air, the water, and the international cross-border stuff ahead of us, right? So we're very excited about the next 1,000 days of product development. We have a strong team of data scientists. We have a 10 plus PhDs in the team, and we're constantly attracting similarly high potential research talent to aggressively accelerate our IP development.
Fantastic. So I would like to ask, for example, you started something and then you pivoted into something completely different, just spotting a trend.
Definitely.
I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs I've seen, personally encountered, maybe just, are obsessed with an idea, and then somehow they are unable to build on that and they quit. And a lot of them also pivot but cannot sustain. So, I mean, where does this thing come from where, you are spot on a trend? I mean, is it great or?
Sure. I think I would, first with a lot of respect to everyone, because, it's a trade-off between pivoting and having the determination, because you should not constantly be keep shifting also, right? And I doubt there is a formula to get it right. Some people, and there's a lot of, I would say, even luck associated, if I would say, if we getting right, they can definitely be debated that, even we could have done it faster, right? So yeah, like, I think it's a bit of trial and error, but what I would recommend is two parts. One, I strongly believe that and this is not my quote. I'm forgetting whose it is. I think it's a Pinterest founder, if I'm not wrong. This founder's quote is that the biggest step to start out. Right. So you've already taken the difficult step of quitting your main day job, starting it out. At this point, if you're constantly listening to data, you will find a problem statement. What's left to is whether it's going to be 100 million, a billion, or so on. But $100 million outcome is not a bad outcome in any way at all, right? And there are plenty full of statements. So you've already done the hard part of jumping out, right? You just need to stick on. On over here, paradoxically, you need that determination to stay on, right? Uh, but constantly just look at data. Like don't stick to your opinions versus data. Your
Got it.
determination should be channeled orient towards staying out and building something. What you're building should and can change based on data over opinions. That's I would say, because I'm not saying everybody can't be Steve Jobs, but once you have that 10 years of experiencing data and having that intuition and that subconscious develop over that decade, go ahead and trust your opinions, right? I'm not senior enough to do it. I won't recommend anybody to do it, but I'm definitely sure there are some people who can do it.
So, I mean, what was your driving force when you built the first company and then the
See, we didn't build a company. We built a product, right? Like, and that was a utility that, and safety is a game of plausibility over probability. We were always very cautious ourselves about building a business around it. As a matter of fact, we were very fortunate to have like some great early investors like Manish Singhal, from Pi Ventures, Amit Ranjan, founder of SlideShare, right? Both of them showed zero friction when we shifted from B2C to B2B, and they clearly called out that we are investing in you guys over anything specific. Even when we were not sure, they said, it's fine, take some money, keep on it, don't go back to your main jobs, right? So they were just really encouraging. Both of them have broadly previous founding or running building products themselves experience. That was super helpful, right? So I think it was more of just that we were really building out products first, and once we thought we had something which can be built a business, we did. We never really pivoted from our business per se, right? But then if you look at in the business, we started out by serving the on-demand, and then we quickly discovered that on-demand is still just 5% of the market, right? And scheduled is not solved. So over there again, you have to listen to the data. So there is no point relying on just stubbornness, because you can always bifurcate it at any granular level. So it's very important to create a framework of decision making over a fixed decision making.
fantastic. So, I mean, on decision making. So, I mean, what are some of the
Sure.
thought processes, schools of thoughts, mental models, whatever. I mean, that you
Yeah, they got decision making. If you want to help, it has to be very. These things has to be very tactical. Over like that's what I believe, right? Like, and that's what I say. Believe in consistent decision making over one good decision or something, right? And they can be very like, for example, let me. I have this personal one that I always like to invest in four things: shoes, mattresses, chairs, and tires. Because these are the four things that always separate me from the ground. And I am always on one of these four, and it has a really good high ROI. Right. So I do not ever think about early changing my tires or investing in these three things. And then I don't have to make that decision daily, which frees up my cognitive space to other places. Yeah. So similarly, I just first believe in reducing the number of decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day basis so that you can take better decisions. Right. And always prioritize important over urgent. It's very, very easy to get sucked into urgent and procrastinate the important, but it's rather the natural thing. So if you're not putting in active effort towards it, you're doing it, assume that way.
so how
Just very cognizantly put.
So how did it help
Good.
you, build this practice, or maybe, building this action of, prioritizing things? Because, I mean, this is a big debate I see on social
Sure.
media also. People are discussing which is the best app, Calendarly, Evernote, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what is the mantra. I mean, I simply do my own Evernote calendars, which helps me. But what is it? I mean, obviously, for an entrepreneur, it's a different drive altogether. The kind of time and energy that you have to put in to come up with that output, specifically, being the CEO. how do you sort of prioritize things, and how have you evolved to it at the point of journey in Locus where you are right now?
So I'm not sure the question. Are you asking about, like, how did I select my personal tool stack, or are you asking like?
I mean,
I'm sorry, I missed the
I'm asking on both the things. I mean, one is obviously a philosophical approach towards this problem of time management, and second is obviously the tools that you have.
time man. Okay, okay, sure. So again, like, simple mathematical approach here, right? Uh, and this is actually the same approach, which works for hiring also, right? It's called the best choice problem, or it's also colloquially known as the marriage problem, or like I think the fussy suitor problem or something. Broadly, the question is that, let's say San Francisco, right? You want to rent out a apartment. How do you know you have seen enough apartment? And that's one of the things around time management, right? How do you know when you've done enough research, right? So I'll leave the details, out of the call, but it's a good wiki to read, or just a good Google, right? It's called the best choice problem, and you can actually mathematically ascertain that your probability of highest return is once you have seen about 37%. So if you had to see 10 apartments, you have seen third, and now you have already seen three, and now whichever best apartment you see will give you typically a high probability of return. You don't need to see everything, and that helps you save from paralysis by analysis. Right? In terms of tool stack, I have very simple tool stack. I use Apple Notes for note taking. Uh, I used to use Evernote, but it is just too slow. Like, opening the app takes too long for me. I use Gmail and Google Calendar. In the hardware ecosystem, I use the Apple. In the software ecosystem, I use a lot of Google, including my photos. We use Slack and Jira for the tech communication. We use Salesforce for the non-tech. Uh, yeah, that would be my predominant everyday tooling. I use a lot of WhatsApp in India and Southeast Asia, including WhatsApp groups for business communications. Yes. I'm just looking at my open tabs. That would be my primary tool stack. I've been migrating most of my desktop tools to cloud tools. Like, I primarily use Slides and Google Sheets, right? And I run some basic cron scripts which take certain of my data and uploads it to my S3 servers, because I travel a lot, and the idea is that if I take a drill machine through my laptop, I should just be able to go through a store, buy a laptop, connect it on Wi-Fi, and in half an hour get back to my original stack. Right. So I think a lot of
I
focus is going
remember
towards that. Yeah.
travel conversation that we had in Goa where you were, I mean, I can imagine kind of amount of travel that you've had at that point in time was crazy.
I
How are you
think I took about
surviving?
242 flights last year.
Yeah, how are you surviving in this lockdown? I think
Oh, I love it. I love it. Like, it's been, to be, on a personal side, it's been uh, pretty good. You have now disciplined eating at home, uh, regular sleeping schedule, no three time zones in the same week. I got married early in Jan to my college sweetheart, and
congratulations.
it has given us more time. Yeah, so it's given us more time, in the last 6 months together than otherwise it would have been possible with all the travel for the next 2-3 years, right? So yeah, it's been pretty great that way. I'm definitely looking forward to start traveling again and meeting, both team members across. Like, we have offices in Jakarta, Ho Chi Minh, Florida, West Coast, right? As well as, some of the other colleagues. So yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I also saw that you've also done economics major in your college.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, bits.
I
I
think
have a master's actually.
the last question's first part was very much you're sounding like an economist. So how much impact does that have in your business skills and day-to-day life? I guess a lot of decision making comes from there.
In the business skills, not a lot. Yeah. So what economics is, if you roughly look at it, economics, and I used to specifically like macroeconomics, right? It's modeling irrational human behavior into rational equations using certain equations. And all economic models like Harrow, Dormer, Solar, like it effectively just differ in certain key assumptions. So that way, it's a pretty interesting thing. Business depends on being able to model a lot of irrational human behavior, right? But I don't think there is any direct application. I can always bring up a few clever statements to associate them, but it was just absolutely fantastic learning and a lot of personal interest as well. As a matter of fact, I used to run like the investment club in campus as well.
Super. So as we come to the, just closing about the session, I have a couple of more questions. So, I mean, every entrepreneur or even in your personal front, I'm sure there might be some downs that come. Specifically entrepreneurship is full of ups and downs. So, how do you tackle that kind of situation? And how do you? I mean, so for example, there's a failure that you encounter. How do you react to that? And how do you manage your team in certain situations like that?
Oh, I mean, I think it would be absolutely unfair to take a superhero role and say you have to manage the team. As a matter of fact, I've always insisted on the next immediate layer, like, the ones I work directly close with, almost all of them are senior to me. I love borrowing from their experience. And in tough times, I've seen myself to rely on them often the most. And, they bring both a sense of calm as well as reason, right? And I think the idea is that you're absolutely right. There's a lot of ups and downs. And I think as long as we all panic one by one, and out of five people, there are four to support the other, it's gonna go smooth.
I think mathematics is your biggest skill, and you utilize that those equations that you come across in real life situations. That is wonderful. So I think that is brilliant. Anything which you would like to share, Nishith, maybe which is less known about you, or whichever if you're comfortable in sharing, which comes to your mind. Right?
I really, really enjoy single malts. Like, I actually plan to open a distillery someday. I've been doing my research. I've been visiting, some of my favorite distilleries around the world, taking detailed notes on the processes, gaps. And often for some of the team or some of my friends, I host a Scotch and chocolate tasting session.
Wow.
Like popularizing single malts is like, kind of like a personal hobby.
Wow, that is nice. So I mean, just quickly, I like to throw up on some, some points to you, and like whatever pops in your mind, the first thing that pops in your mind.
Sure.
Whenever we, I mean, for example,
Yes.
who's your biggest startup in the Indian startup ecosystem? Who's your biggest inspiration?
Postman. He's also a campus senior.
Oh, fantastic. And I don't want to put that question for the investor angle. I guess that would be unfair to put you on. But what but I mean, so one word that comes to your mind when I say social media.
Kara Susha.
Fantastic. One word that comes to your mind when I say stress.
Performance.
One word.
It's good. It's required.
One word for the word team.
Family.
One word for the word passion.
Critical.
And one word for the term reading.
Essential. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like meditation.
I'll leave it at that, Nishith. I think it was a wonderful conversation that we had, as candid as it could be, and I'm sure people will derive a lot of fruitful outcomes from this conversation that we had, even including me, starting from me actually. So I'll go back and analyze some of those thoughts that you're leaving here us with. And thank you so much, Nishith. And so thank you for watching, everyone. We'll be soon back with another interesting episode.
Thanks, Amit. It was absolutely fun. Thanks for keeping it exciting. Have a good day.